The American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, remains one of the most significant and transformative events in U.S. history. At its core, the conflict was a result of deep-seated divisions between the North and South, rooted primarily in contrasting economic systems and social structures. While slavery is often cited as the main cause of the war, and rightly so, it is essential to understand how slavery was interwoven with the broader economic and social fabric of the United States. This essay examines the complex causes of the Civil War, focusing on the interplay between economic disparities, the institution of slavery, social ideologies, political conflicts, and the growing sectionalism that ultimately fractured the Union. Economic differences between North and South. A critical factor contributing to the Civil War was the stark contrast between the Northern and Southern economies. These economic differences shaped the way each region developed socially, politically, and culturally, laying the groundwork for conflict. Industrial North versus agrarian South. By the mid-19th century, the North had undergone significant industrialization. It was characterized by factories, railroads, urban centers, and a rapidly growing population fueled by the immigration. Northern states embraced wage labor and capitalism, creating a dynamic, diversified economy that did not rely on slavery. Cities like New York, Boston, and Philadelphia became economic hubs with thriving manufacturing sectors and financial institutions. In contrast, the Southern economy remained predominantly agrarian, heavily reliant on plantation agriculture and the labor of enslaved people. The South's wealth was tied to the production of cash crops, particularly cotton, tobacco, rice, and sugar. The invention of the cotton gin in 1793 by Eli Whitney revolutionized cotton production, making it the dominant export and further entrenching the reliance on slavery. This created a rigid, hierarchical social structure in the South, where economic power was concentrated in the hands of a small, planter elite. Conflicts over tariffs and trade policies. Another economic grievance that widened the divide between North and South was the issue of tariffs. The federal government often implemented protective tariffs to shield Northern manufacturers from foreign competition. The Tariff of Abominations, 1828, and subsequent tariffs were deeply unpopular in the South, where such policies increased the cost of imported goods and threatened the cotton trade with Europe. Southern leaders viewed these tariffs as disproportionately benefiting Northern industrialists at the expense of Southern planters. This contributed to the growing perception that the federal government was biased toward Northern interests, reinforcing the South's desire to assert greater autonomy. Expansion and economic competition. The question of whether new territories acquired through westward expansion would permit slavery was both an economic and political issue. The North, with its growing population and industrial economy, wanted new territories to be free of slavery, ensuring they would become markets for Northern goods and homes for free laborers. The South, on the other hand, sought to expand slavery into new regions to preserve its agrarian economy and maintain political parity in Congress. The Missouri Compromise, 1820, the Compromise of 1850, and the Kansas-Nebraska Act, 1804, were all attempts to address these tensions. However, each compromise merely postponed the inevitable conflict, as the economic interests of the two regions continued to diverge. 2. Slavery as the central social issue. While economic differences laid the foundation for conflict, the institution of slavery was the central social and moral issue that made compromise increasingly impossible. Slavery was not just an economic institution, but a deeply entrenched social system that shaped Southern identity and values. The Southern defense of slavery. By the 1830s, Southern leaders moved from describing slavery as a necessary evil to defending it as a positive good. They argued that enslaved Africans were better off under the care of slaveholders than they would be in the industrial North or in Africa. This paternalistic ideology was used to justify slavery on moral, religious, and racial grounds. The Southern social structure was built around this system, where the white population, even non-slaveholders, often supported slavery because it upheld white supremacy and provided a clear social hierarchy. The rise of abolitionism in the North. In the North, the abolitionist movement gained strength in the 1830s and 1840s. Influenced by religious revivalism and Enlightenment ideals of liberty and equality, abolitionists such as William Lloyd Garrison, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, and Harriet Tubman challenged the moral legitimacy of slavery. Garrison's The Liberator, Douglass's narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, and Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin helped galvanize Northern opposition to the institution. While not all Northerners were abolitionists, a growing number opposed the expansion of slavery into new territories. The Free Soil movement, and later the Republican Party, emerged with the platform of preventing the spread of slavery, which Southerners saw as a direct threat to their way of life.